In Skyrim, aside from magic, there's two main types of ranged damage you can do. Bows and crossbows. With such limited options that you have, choosing the right one is pretty important. And at first glance, it isn't exactly obvious which one you should choose. For this video, I'm going to go over all of the benefits and downsides of crossbows, as well as the benefits and downsides for regular bows, to help you figure out which is the best option and which one you should use in your next playthrough. So let's start out talking about crossbows. First of all, in order to get them, you actually have to have the Dawnguard DLC installed. That's no issue though, because it's literally baked into Skyrim Special Edition and Anniversary Edition, so you should already have it. For the sake of the comparison, I'm gonna completely ignore all of the Creation Club stuff that you get in Anniversary Edition, like the fire arrows, the ice arrows, and all the new crossbows, just because I don't really consider that to be vanilla, and I'm not as experienced with it as I am with vanilla, so for the sake of just consistency, we're going to talk about only purely vanilla. Anyways, the standard crossbow you can get from Ezron after joining the Dawnguard. There's also a few just scattered around Fort Dawnguard itself, along with quite a bit of steel bolts. The crossbow has a base damage of 19, which, to put that into perspective, a Daedric bow has 19, and that is the best bow in the game aside from unique bows. You can get the crossbow as early as level 9 once you actually are able to join the Dawnguard, which makes the crossbow easily one of the best, if not the best, weapon you can have at this stage in the game. Considering at level 9, you're probably using a hunting bow or maybe even an ancient Nordic bow, which has a base damage of only 8. One downside is that the crossbow doesn't actually use arrows. Like I said, it uses bolts, and they are quite difficult to come by. There's 3 methods that I've found. Number 1 is if you join the vampire side of things in the Dawnguard DLC. Random Dawnguards will just attack you at random points, and some of them have steel bolts, but you only really get 1 or 2 of them that actually have steel bolts, and they only have about 15 to 20 each, so that's not a very reliable source. The second source, you can actually, if you join the Dawnguard, there's quests that you can do for them that unlock you different crossbows that do more damage and that have unique abilities that are able to ignore armor, but you can also craft steel bolts. However, if you don't choose to join the Dawnguard, there's one last option to collect bolts, and that is on Dwarven Sphere, so you can get Dwarven bolts. They don't give you that much each, but it is a source of bolts. Granted, it is pretty annoying having to clear a Dwemer dungeon every time you need ammo, but that's the price you pay for having such an overpowered weapon at this stage in the game. Also, crossbows have a built-in 50% chance to stagger most enemies by default. And if you get the perk in the archery tree that adds another 50%, it becomes 75. Meaning that 75% of the time you hit an enemy with a crossbow, they will get staggered. Also, unsurprisingly, just like every Dawnguard weapon, crossbows deal extra damage to vampires, which is very good in my opinion, because vampires have a lot of HP, and they have life drain as well, which can really suck, especially early into mid-game. Crossbows do seem to have less drop than regular bows, making them just a little bit more accurate over longer distances, which is quite nice if you're sort of new to Skyrim and you haven't figured out the bow mechanics fully yet. All of these amazing things, and you can still enchant and improve them at a smithy, meaning that if you have high enough smithing, you can actually improve them to be a lot better than they already are, and then add like a fire or a frost enchantment to it to add even more damage. So essentially, assuming you have a reliable source of ammo, there's almost no possible reason you would prefer a bow over a crossbow until the very late game, seeing as the base damage is equal to the Daedric bow, it can be improved, and it can be enchanted. And it has extra damage to vampires, and it staggers enemies. There's just so many benefits, it's unbelievable. All of this at level 9. And the only real downside that I've noticed is that arrows are pretty hard to come by, and shooting the crossbow is more loud than a regular bow, meaning if you're sneak attacking, you get detected a little bit more easily. Alright, enough about crossbows, let's talk a little bit about regular bows. For starters, the main advantage is you can start using them at the very beginning of the game. You don't have to wait till level 9 or anything. You can immediately in Helgen Keep, you get a longbow. This makes them quite a bit easier to actually build your character around, as their availability is extremely high, and arrows are also extremely common. And you can get arrows that don't just do 10 damage, which by the way, steel bolts base damage is 10. and which is the exact same as ancient Nordic arrows or steel arrows, meaning that even something as basic as elven or dwarven arrows is better DPS wise than steel bolts. And like I said, they're also extremely common, not only on dead bodies. You can basically get an infinite supply of steel and iron arrows, but you can also physically buy and physically make tons of them extremely easily. Also, there is quite a bit more variety of bows, which in my opinion is a bit more fun. I don't like just having one weapon the whole game. It gets old really quick, let me tell you. And especially to the really late game when you have max smithing, max enchanting, and you have, you know, high level bows like, let's just say ebony, and you can improve on it and enchant it. The difference in damage is going to be like 10 points, maybe less. And at that stage in the game, you're already doing 60, 70, 80 damage, not even including the arrows. The difference would be so tiny that late game, it honestly means nothing. There isn't that much more to be said about regular bows. They aren't the most in-depth weapon, especially considering that they are an entire class of weapon and not just one specific weapon. All in all, I'm going to say that situationally, the bow wins, and situationally the crossbow wins. I know that's not a very conclusive answer, but if you're just using your bow as sort of a secondary weapon, you're playing maybe a one-handed character and you just want to have a bow for like dragon fights, or, you know, just the occasional interaction, then the crossbow is 100% the way to go. It does more damage, it has all these benefits that I mentioned previously, and you don't need bolts that much, as like I said, you're probably going to be using it as a secondary backup weapon. Whereas if you're going to build your character focusing around the archery abilities, bows win by a lot. Especially because they have a late game longevity, and they're just a bit more fun in my opinion. So, that's my take on the subject. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree. I might have missed something that might make the bows more better, or might make the crossbows worse. I don't know. A lot of you guys know a lot more about this game than I do, so please definitely let me know your take. I love seeing comments from you guys. It's really fun to see that people actually engage with my content. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and have a good day.